Hey there, you're listening to the Girls Talking Life podcast, and I'm your host, Johanna. If you're like me, you love time with friends. I always leave feeling encouraged, inspired to try something different, or I've learned something new. So why not continue to grow even when we can't be with our girlfriends? We're not made to do life on our own. So in each episode of this show, I'll bring you a girl and her story to give you refreshing ideas to stir your soul. Let's walk this road together. Are you ready to talk life? Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you chose to spend some time here. I want to let you know about the free downloadable conversation cards you can get to use at your next gathering. I'm an introvert, and while I love people, I don't always do a good job at getting the conversation going. So a while ago, way before this podcast, I went looking for conversation cards to use at a girls' night I was hosting. I couldn't find anything that I liked. Nothing really reflected me or my friends well, so I created my own. I cut them and pasted them on pretty paper, and they were a big hit. Since then, I've used them in all different settings, even a co-ed dinner party, and they've sparked some great conversations and lots of laughs. To get your own set of cards, go to girlstalkinglife.com, sign up for the newsletter, I'll send the cards to you and you can get talking. Today on the show, we're celebrating 1 year of Girls Talking Life. It has been my privilege to bring you the stories of some truly amazing women, but today I'm sharing some of my own story and how this show came to be. As part of our celebration, we are giving away a gift to one of you. But you'll have to listen to the end to find out all the details. And as a gift to me, if you want, and to the show, please subscribe and rate and review the show in your podcast app. While I love to help tell other women's stories, I don't enjoy talking about myself, so this was one of the hardest episodes for me. Thankfully, my sweet friend Kim Campbell joined me, and she was the one asking the questions. Kim is a wife and a mother of 3 amazing kiddos. She's held positions such as social worker, wedding planner, pastor's wife, and is known for being an expert people gatherer, as well as a tremendous friend. You will have to forgive us for the sound quality of this episode. Normally my conversations happen online, but for this show, we wanted to sit down together in my kitchen and chat, which is exactly what we did. But for some reason, in some places, it sounds like we're boxing with the microphone. I promise we're not. Kim and I talk about how my husband Joe and I were called into deeper relationships with God, how we ended up in Central Ohio, and why I felt called to start a podcast. We talk about what I've learned through a year of podcasting and the best parts of producing the show. And, of course, I share my favorite 5. Here is my conversation with my guest host, Kim. Hey there, Kim. Thanks for coming on the show.
Good morning, Johanna.
My friend Kim is here today, and she is actually going to interview me because we are celebrating the 1 year anniversary of Girls Talking Life.
Yay.
We thought it would be fun if I got to share a little of my story, the way I share the stories of my guests.
I feel like the year has gone fast. Do you feel like it's gone quickly?
It's gone really fast.
Yeah, I remember when you were in the beginning stages of this, just kind of trying to figure out who you were going to interview. And it was really exciting. And I was so proud of you for stepping out because this is nerve-wracking. I've never been on anything like this.
You're alive.
So good job. So I would love to hear, I obviously know your story. I know why you started it. I remember the early days of you thinking about it and praying about it and feeling like God had just put this on your heart. So I think I'm actually the one who put my foot in my mouth and said, you should interview yourself. You should be interviewed on your podcast.
I do think this was your idea.
Oh, yeah. What was I thinking? So yeah, I think it would be great for you to share how this all started with all of your listeners.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back, not to the beginning, but a ways. After college, Joe and I, my husband Joe, not yet then married, but planning on getting engaged kind of soon, I wanted to start attending church. And I had grown up in the church, and I knew that that was a really important thing that I wanted to get back to. Joe grew up Catholic. He knew God and believed in him, but he didn't have a relationship, I wouldn't say. Mm-hmm. So he was just kind of going along with me. Like, yeah, you want to do this? I want to make her happy kind of thing. So the second church we tried, we loved. We felt something there. And we were like, yes, we're going back every week. We were kind of tuned right into the pastor and everything that he was saying. And we felt the Spirit there very clearly to us. And we didn't even know what we were looking for.
Right.
So we were kind of both being pursued by Jesus at that point individually. I remember feeling really good about things. Joe might not have been quite there with me. He was excited, but he wasn't dialed in. And he got a call from his friend from high school who he hadn't talked to in a lot of years. It was his friend Kyle. And Kyle said to him, I had this dream about you. You were sitting on a bench reading your Bible, and you looked up at me and said, I don't understand this. Can you help me?
But this whole Jesus thing was new to him. So how did he respond to that?
I think he was really open to it.
Okay.
And he ended up actually doing a Bible study over the phone with Kyle for a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kyle was in the process of training to be a pastor. So this was right up his alley. And I think Joe was kind of relieved that he called him and said, hey, I want to help you. We were living in Cleveland at the time, and we were still going to this church that we really loved, but we were kind of lacking community. We lived too far away to be involved in things on a daily basis. And we had some friends that lived near us that we loved, but just one other family can't be your whole community. Right. So I know I really felt like I was lacking in just time with girlfriends. After you come out of college, when you're living with people and just immersed in their lives.
Such an awkward time. Yeah.
So I was missing that, but we were growing in our faith, and we would come down to Columbus to visit Kyle and his wife Laura, and they would come up to visit us, and we would jokingly say when we would visit them, we should come move here. We like it so much. And they would say, yeah, you should come move here. So, but our plan was actually to move to Joe's hometown. We were planning to move there because he worked for his family's company. And I wasn't really keen on moving to a small town because we had all the benefits of living near a bigger city. And finally I came around. I was like, I'm going to get the community that I've been looking for. We'll be near his family. It'll be a really good thing. So after a while, I was on board with that. And Joe turned to me one day and said, I think we should move to Columbus.
Of course, right after you got your mind wrapped around moving to a small town.
And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? We're not doing that.
Don't disrupt my plan.
And we had our house for sale for a long time. The plan was to move when it sold, but our house wasn't selling. So we prayed through it. Eventually I agreed. I thought, okay, this is what my husband wants to do. We feel like it feels like the right thing from God. So as soon as we made the decision that we were going to move to Columbus, our house sold almost immediately.
Oh, wow.
We didn't even have a place to stay, so we had to scramble to find a place to live. So that just felt like confirmation. This is where we were supposed to be.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that Joe wanted to move here in the first place was that Kyle and his wife Laura had started a church. He wanted to be part of that church. There were 2 other couples that had started that with him. One of the couples actually was leaving. They moved away about 2 weeks before we moved here. And in no way did we feel like we were filling their shoes. We didn't step into leadership in the church or anything like that, but we felt like we were helping to fill the space that they left. So that was a little bit more confirmation. And then you and your husband were the third couple.
We were.
So that is how I got to meet you.
Yeah. And I remember, before we met, I remember Laura talking about you guys, and she would, they would say they would go on the weekend and see Joe and Johanna. And I'm like, Joe and Johanna, you speak of these people. Who are they? And then I remember finally meeting you guys, and then your decision to move here. It was really neat.
It all just seemed to flow. And we felt really good about it.
I think one of the first times, I know I met you prior to me knocking on your door to help you move into your house. You were in a rental house, I think, until you found a home that you wanted to purchase, right? Is that, okay. And Laura was out of town, and you were moving in that weekend or that week. And I remember saying to Laura, would it be odd if I asked if I could help her? Like I could unload some boxes and organize her kitchen. She's like, no, just give it a shot. So I don't really think we had spoken much up until that point. I just kind of showed up at your house and put your kitchen together. It's just kind of a funny thing now.
You did. And it was,
I did.
I thought it was a little strange at the time, but I'm so glad you did.
I'm all for strange when it comes to stuff like that.
It was so helpful. And then I got to know you, and we became really good friends.
Yeah. It was a really, really neat time.
And just the community that we experienced as part of that church was amazing.
It was a sweet time.
It was a really sweet time. And it was everything I had been lacking in Cleveland for myself and for Joe. So that was really important to us.
Yeah.
And during this whole time, I just felt like God was preparing me for something. I was learning a lot, and I was growing, and it was for a reason. And you are the person who told me about podcasts.
Good old Jamie Ivey in the happy hour.
That's right.
And really, the first person that told me about that, we can go back to some of your earlier guests. I believe it was Shala.
Okay.
who told me first about the happy hour. It was Shala and Laura and one other mutual friend of ours that mentioned it. And so I started listening when I clean houses, and that is just a weekly thing for me to do. And I remember sharing that with you.
You did, and I listened,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And I branched out and listened to other podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, I had a little bit more room in my life for some, I just had a little more space. My kids were getting older. And when I would listen to these women talk about what they were doing, I was like, well, what can I do? This one woman had a paper company. Should I have a paper company? Lots of authors I heard. Should I write a book? Like, what's next? I need to do something. I feel it. And one day it just came to me. This is probably 2016. What if I had a podcast? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that.
I remember some stages of this. I remember it started out with helping victims of human trafficking. You led the charge of that with our church and us helping Carly with her ministry.
Yep. Guest number one.
Yes, guest number one. And then from there, I remember you talking about blogging. And I don't believe you did that, right?
No.
Okay. You must have sat on that for a little while. And then from there, you went to podcasting. I think blogging was your safety, right? That would have been a safer place
Probably.
to blog. And then you moved into this.
And it took me a while.
Oh, yeah. That decision doesn't happen overnight.
I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. So it was a lot of thought and a lot of prayer to kind of narrow that down and even just learn how to put a show together.
Yeah.
But I remember feeling conflicted about it, and I didn't know, is this something I just want to do? Is it just for myself? Am I really doing this for God's glory? And one morning I was in bed and I prayed about that. Just like, tell me, Lord, is this something I'm supposed to be doing for you? I didn't hear anything, but I came downstairs and I was doing a Beth Moore Bible study at the time. So I was sitting at the table doing my homework, and I read the Bible verse I was supposed to read. And I was like, well, this doesn't really make sense. Maybe I'm reading the wrong one. So I checked it out, and I did actually read the wrong verse. But the verse I read, this is what it said. It was revealed to them that they were not serving themselves, but you, when they spoke of the things that have now been told to you by those who have preached the gospel to you by the Holy Spirit sent from heaven. Even angels long to look into these things. And it was that first part, you know, it was not revealed to them, or it was revealed to them that they were not serving themselves, but you. And the verse is about prophets, and, you know, it doesn't directly correlate. But to me, at that moment,
it was an answer to what you had just asked.
It was an answer, absolutely. So I was like, okay, I'm going to move forward with that. And this was early 2017, so it still took me a while to get everything.
How did you work through knowing that it can feel like the market for podcast is saturated? How did you work through feeling like, well, it would just be like what other people do? Does that make sense?
It does. That still bothers me. It's still a fear or an insecurity that I have. But I heard someone say, if only one person wrote books, then there would be no bookstores.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, it's true.
And no one can say what I say. No one can ask the questions in my voice. So I just have to believe and try to be confident.
Well, and I listen to many podcasts, and there are times when I think I've even shared with you, I've listened to numerous podcasters interview the same person, and I will hear a different aspect of their story or a different way of them interviewing or telling them their story that sounds significantly different than what was told in another podcast. So it's really cool how that can all work together.
Yeah, different things can be revealed.
Sure.
Absolutely. So I just started, all these names came to mind of all these women that I wanted to be able to tell their stories. And I had a fast, long list. And that's where I started.
Yeah. And your list is still growing.
It is. And I feel like I hope I am encouraging community. So if you are a mom, a wife, any type of woman, you can feel connected to the women that I'm interviewing. You can listen when it might be a lonely time for you, like on your commute to work, when you're home cleaning, when you're, just doing kind of mindless tasks. It can connect you with these women. And I always encourage face-to-face connection. I mean, that's the priority. But when you can't have that, it's so inspiring and encouraging to be able to sit down and hear these conversations.
Yeah. What would you say to the woman who feels like they're in the spot that you were in when you felt like there's something more? What would you encourage them to do?
Just explore. Continue to listen to what other people are doing. Listen what God has for you. I would say that even if it seems completely impossible, it's definitely possible to get something started. And I would say hold it with an open hand. I don't really know where this is going, if it would continue as a podcast, if it will branch out and be other things, if this is just for a short season and it's just to teach me. I have heard from other women just some feedback, and that's been really moving to me. I recently got a message from a friend who was a guest who had received a message from a woman who had heard her show, and they related on so many levels, and it was just what that woman needed to hear in that time.
Wow.
And so my friend said, well, where did you hear my interview? And she said, well, it was on Girls Talking Life. It was the right words at the right time.
And those are the stories, I think, that keep you going.
Absolutely. It wasn't my story that inspired her, but I had a small part in putting my guest's story in her ears.
From being obedient.
That
to
fills
what
me
God
up.
has called you to do. Very cool. What would you say your greatest takeaway has been this past year? Or something you've learned?
Well, podcasting is a lot of work. And I know some people have producers and editors and social media managers, and I'm all those things. I do all that, and I love that I've gotten to learn all that. I think it's really important to know how to do things from start to finish.
Yeah.
I'm not great at all of it, but I've definitely gotten better. I feel like biggest thing, though, is just connecting with women. And I have many friends that I've made just through this process, whether they've found my podcast and listen, or whether they've been a guest, whether there's someone I go to ask questions on how to do something.
Do you find enjoyment in doing it?
So much.
Are you excited to sit down every couple weeks? Do you even find enjoyment in the work aspect of it, like the editing and all of that? Do you find enjoyment in that?
I do. I love it. I love every bit of it. It does take up a lot of time, which I find hard, just balancing my family
also working.
And my other job.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes. I do work part-time for university. So yeah, the time is the biggest obstacle, but I love it, and it doesn't feel like work.
What's your favorite thing out of all of it? I would assume it's the interviewing people.
Yeah. My favorite thing is definitely the interviewing of people, but it's also really fun when I wrap up an episode, when I've put the finishing touches on it.
Sure.
And I upload it
to
be released. That's just like a really fun feeling.
Yeah. Such a great sense of accomplishment.
And to see that people are listening.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You know, besides my mom.
Right.
Thank you, Mom. But other people too.
I love it. Okay, so you always ask your guests about their favorite 5. And I feel like your favorite 5 constantly change. It's always something different that you list. So I'm so excited. What are your favorite 5?
Right now, well, my first is Madewell jeans.
Oh, you did it. You took the plunge.
I did it.
When did you do this?
More expensive.
You have not told me this.
I started with a pair online.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? I don't know if I had a coupon or a sale or something. And I'm like, I'm just doing it. I've heard that they're better. I was getting just how your jeans stretch out, or if you buy cheap pairs after you wash them so many times, they're not the same. So I got this pair of jeans. And I love them.
Which ones are they? Are they the Road Tripper? Are they...
I have since ordered the Road Tripper.
Okay.
But these weren't. They were a pair of, I think they're called jeggings.
Okay.
They're high-waisted jeggings.
Okay, so I totally bit the bullet and did
you
it.
Did
and
too?
I hated them. Oh my goodness.
You had the wrong pair.
I sent them back. I was like, I'll just stick with what I have. Because what I purchase they're not super cheap. Okay. So I usually order from Nordstrom.
Okay, so if you have something you love.
Yeah, you just didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah. I just hear rave reviews about them, and so I was so excited. And I did, like, the high-waisted, all the stuff. It just didn't go well.
Okay. Well, I would say try again. Try a different pair.
But I'm the only person I know that hasn't liked them. Everyone else loves them.
I love them. You may remember my guest, Holly Starr.
Yeah. I do.
She created the Yes necklace.
Yes.
And that is one of my favorites. I wear it every day. It is so pretty, and it's just a nice reminder.
Do you wear that in the shower? Can you get it wet?
You can get it wet.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually do take it off at
Take
night,
it off. Okay.
but you can. I have.
That's pretty. You do wear it all the time.
It's just a reminder on your neck every day to trust in God, and I've been asked about it, which is
great opportunity.
Right. It was just a lot of fun to say, this is why I have this on.
Yeah.
My third favorite is Orange Theory.
They kick your tail.
They do. I had been working out at home probably since I had my first daughter, and I was slacking. Yeah,
no
just
accountability.
No, not pushing myself hard. And, at one point I think I really was, but the last few years, no. So my friend told me about this, and you can go and do your first class for free. And I didn't die. So I went back, and I really like it.
You didn't die.
It's such a good workout. It's fun. I feel so like I've accomplished so much.
What kind of workout is it?
You do treadmill, rower, and then weight floor. So there's usually 3.
Every time you go.
Every time you go.
A variation of those, or you do all of them?
It's all of them,
at some point.
But in all different ways.
Oh, okay.
So totally different workout every time.
How long is the class?
It's an hour.
Oh, man. Wow. How often do you go?
I try to go twice a week.
Okay.
Doesn't always work, but I try. And I can tell a difference in my body, just carrying the groceries in.
Yeah, sure.
It's doing something.
Good.
So I'm thrilled.
Good.
Favorite number 4 is Prep Dish. And I know I've talked to you about this.
Oh, yes.
I've been using this service for a couple of years. They give you your grocery list and then instructions on what to do with your food once you get it. And I love having something pre-planned for me. I don't always follow it exactly, but it's a starter grocery list. It gives me meals. I can switch them up if I want to. I can prep it ahead of time if I want, or if I don't have time that week, I just make it as I go.
I know you love it. This isn't just like, I'm going to throw it on my list because you have talked about it so much.
I know. I'm kind of embarrassed. Maybe I should stop talking about it.
No, it's a great thing. I think the kicker is the grocery list that's already made for you, because that's huge. That's so time consuming.
And it's sectioned out like fruits and vegetables, meats, dairy. So I just cross out what I already have. I write in what I need.
Okay.
It's not already on there.
Is it for a specific number of people? Is it for like a family of 4?
I think.
Do you choose how many?
You don't choose.
Okay.
No. I think it's based loosely around a family of 4, but I make it and we always have leftovers.
Okay. And I feel like when I looked at it before, you can do gluten-free, dairy-free. There are options.
Right. And they have a paleo.
That work for your family. Okay.
Favorite number 5, the Bible recap.
Oh, yes. That I am so behind in.
Oh, me too. But I'm doing it.
Absolutely. Yes.
And that's what counts.
How far behind are you? Let's compare.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, I'm like in the hundreds.
100.
Okay. Yay.
100 and some days, yeah.
But did you even start, though, at the beginning of the year?
I didn't start at the beginning of the year,
Okay.
but I started February 15th. So
That's your 1-year mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's still including, that's day 1. So I'm still 100
Sure.
and whatever days behind.
Okay.
From there.
Okay. I did great up until about June, and then our summer kind of got super crazy. And then I'm just one of those people that I don't like to be behind, so it's really, really hard for me to see that you're behind, that many days. But I have learned I know I'm hijacking your 5. You're one of your favorite 5s, but
I learned about this from you. So.
I'm hijacking it. No, I love it. It's been so great. I feel like in January I told everyone I knew about it. And the best part was I heard Tara Lee Cobble interviewed on Jamie Ivey a year prior to this, to her launching the Bible recap, because that didn't exist prior to this year. And she had recommended reading the Bible chronologically through in a year. So I bought the chronological Bible, and I probably got through like part of Genesis. That was it. It was pathetic. And so then when I heard her interviewed again, and she talked about her podcast, and that I think she calculated that it was 24 minutes of your day from reading to listening.
Okay.
I was pretty hooked at that point that, okay, I can do 24 minutes in a day. And to catch up, I thought, okay, I just won't listen to the podcast. I'll just do the reading section. And I quickly discovered that does not work for me. I need the podcast to explain what I read. Otherwise, I'm just reading words and I'm not comprehending as much. I'm checking a box, which is part of my personality that I'm trying to just not do in this case, and to be okay with being behind. So it has been phenomenal to me. I love it.
I love it too. And we should explain what it is.
Yeah.
So the YouVersion Bible app has a chronological reading plan, and that corresponds with this podcast that Tara Lee Cobble hosts, where she recaps the section that you just read. So like Kim said, you read a few chapters, doesn't take too long. Then the podcast recaps what you read in 5 to 8 minutes, would you say?
Yep.
And it is so, I know what the word is.
It's eye-opening.
Insightful.
It is insightful. I was brought up in the church, and there are things that I have never heard explained the way she explained them. It's great. I love it.
So I'm excited to read my Bible. On a day I can't do it,
I
miss it.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And it's been good for my kids to see that too. I had read something recently. My oldest is almost 14, and I was listening to, again, a podcast about raising children and teens, and how when you get to a certain age of your children, it's more about what they see you doing than what you're telling them to do and putting rules in place. And I don't think telling your kids, making reading their Bible a rule is probably the best choice. But for them seeing me doing that, it's been really cool. It's been a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
All around.
Thanks for telling me about things, Kim.
Yeah, no problem. But let's just make it clear, I did not tell you about the Madewell jeans. I will have to try them again.
You will have to try them again. So, since it's the anniversary episode,
yes,
I thought a fun thing to do might be to do a giveaway.
Oh, I didn't know about this.
Maybe a listener would like to win one of my favorite 5 items.
Yeah. Which one? Which one are you thinking?
Well, I think I'm going to let them pick.
Okay.
I can't give you the Bible recap.
No.
Because that won't work, but I'll think about that one.
What about a subscription to Prep Dish?
Yeah.
Or a necklace.
Or a necklace, or a gift certificate to Orange Theory, or one to Madewell.
Yeah. How do your listeners get in on this?
I think they're going to have to check in later.
Okay.
I think I'll have that
on Instagram somewhere.
On Instagram, yeah.
Okay.
But it's going to happen because we're celebrating.
Absolutely. It's been a great year.
I'm so excited. Well, thank you, Kim, for coming on. Thank you for being my
You're welcome.
Interviewer today.
Yes, it was fun. A little nerve-wracking, but it was fun.
You made your podcast debut?
I did.
And it was fun to get to share a little background about me.
Yes.
Even though I do not like doing that.
It was good refresh for me. I forgot some of the backstory.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to hear how God moves and how he leads you and prepares you years before he asks you to do things.
I think it's always good to look back and put the puzzle pieces together into one big picture.
That's really cool. Yeah. I'm proud of you for your obedience to God.
Thank you.
And your willingness to do this, even when it's hard. Good job. I'm
Thanks.
proud of you.
Thanks, friend. I hope you enjoyed this conversation and getting to know me and my story a little more. I truly love getting to do this job, and I'm so honored that you press play. Other than you getting to know the story behind Girls Talking Life, I really hope what you take away from today's episode is that if you have something burning in your soul, the feeling that there's something you need to do, you should take notice of that, pray about it, learn more about it, and then do it, whatever that is. I remember feeling so strongly about starting something that I felt like certainly everyone around me must be feeling this urge too. But then when I talked to my friends, they were like, no, I don't feel led to do anything, take on any new project. And I remember being shocked that this was something just for me. So listen to that feeling. Take notice. You heard Kim and I talk about Prep Dish. If that is something that you think you might want to try, go to prepdish.com/Girls Talking Life to try it for free for 2 weeks. We also mentioned a giveaway as part of our celebration of 1 year of podcasting. Here is what you need to know. This week, if you share the show on Instagram or Facebook, it can be a picture of you listening, reposting something that I've posted, whatever you want to do. Be sure and tag Girls Talking Life so I know that you shared it, and you will be entered to win one of my favorite 5. Your choice. So that could be a 3-month subscription to Prep Dish, a $50 gift card to Madewell, or a $50 gift card to Orange Theory, 2 Yes necklaces, one for you and one for a friend. And I can't give you the Bible Recap podcast, so instead, that will be a She Reads Truth Bible. So be sure to share the show this week. The winner will be announced next Monday. It has truly been my pleasure to bring this show to you, and I sincerely thank you for listening. It means so, so much. Cheers to 1 year. Next time on the show, I am talking with Chris Camille. As a sequin-wearing homeschooling mother of 4, Chris is passionate about Jesus, people, and words. Chris is the author of Come, Lord Jesus, The Weight of Waiting, an Advent devotional, and Holy, 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 a Lenten Journey of Refinement. She has contributed to numerous other books and is the director of Refine, the retreat. Chris and I dig into lots of different things, but the theme of our conversation is how God has been so faithful to her. And we are going to set you up for Advent because it is coming, girls. Friends, don't let the conversation stop when the show is over. Share your stories and start your own conversations with the girls in your life. Thanks for tuning in.